Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk to you about the steps to planning your homeschool process. In my previous video, I went over what I personally do to plan my homeschool year out. But then I realized that everyone is not detail oriented, nor is everyone project oriented. And some people may need smaller chunks or smaller steps that they should take in order to help them plan out their year. So, what I wanted to talk to you all about is basically the baby steps to the planning process. So, what are some simple step by step things that you can do to help in the planning process of your homeschool? I would first say you want to kind of come to some kind of consensus as to whether or not you want to plan year round, you want to plan by semester, you want to plan by quarter, or you want to plan on a monthly or even weekly basis. And that decision is solely upon you. It's based on your thought process, it's based on what's going on within your home. It's based on whether or not you want to be very detailed or specific. It's also based on whether or not you're a person who likes to have everything prepared far in advance. There are pros and cons to each one of those methods of planning, but it's totally up to you as to which one you prefer. For me, I like to plan year round. I actually plan my entire year out, from my lessons to the chapters to the topics. And then what I do is on a weekly or monthly basis, I go back to that plan and then I dive a little deeper and I bring in specific resources or I make changes as we go along. But that may not work for you. It may be too much at one time. So consider planning maybe on a monthly basis in the beginning until you get acclimated and you get used to it. And then you can go ahead and plan by quarter, by semester, and then by the year. So the first step I would say, or the precursor step to the baby steps that I'm going to talk to you today about, is making the decision as to how far in advance you want to plan. So once you do that, I want you to think about this first baby step. Why are you homeschooling? What is your purpose? What are the reasons? What are your objectives? What are your outcome-based goals? Another way of saying outcome-based goals are results-oriented goals. What do you hope to accomplish at the end of the homeschool year, or the end of the quarter, or the end of the semester, or the end of the month? What are your personal and household values? What do you want to instill within your little ones? And what is your overall vision? So take some time and think about this. This is not a race. So if it takes you a few days or it takes you a week or two, that is a-okay. But I really want you to sit back and literally jot down your thoughts, jot down notes somewhere that clearly explains why you're doing this. What do you want to accomplish? What values do you want to instill within your children within that process? And what is your overall vision? And the reason why I think this is important is because everything you do from baby step 2 and on goes right back to this right here. You need to have a foundation. You need to understand the purpose of why you are going through this homeschool journey with your child or with your children. And as we talk about some of the other baby steps, you'll understand why this is so important. Oh, and by the way, if you're looking at this is just a laptop skin that I created in 2017. And this is actually my vision board for 2017. We do vision boards within our home. And instead of having a vision board that was printed out, for me, I decided to have my vision board as a laptop skin. So let's go on to baby step number 2. Baby step number 2, I would say, is more focused on when do you want to teach? When do you want to instruct? Will your day be more of a schedule, or would you rather a routine? When thinking about this, I would say consider the number of children that you have, the grade levels that you will be focused on, and think about your schedule. Are you working full-time, part-time? Are you a stay-at-home mom? Are you the only person within the household that will be homeschooling your child or children? Will there be other people like a spouse or a relative? Will you be joining a co-op? Will you be outsourcing any of the topics or subjects? Take a moment and think about how your child learns. What time of day does your child learn the best? At what time of day are you the most productive? What time of day is your child the most productive? So take some time, write it out. I always say, write your thought processes out, jot them down as notes somewhere. And at the end, you'll organize your thoughts into a method that makes more sense. But jot everything down. There is no stupid or outlandish answer to any of these questions, okay? So when do you want to teach? For me, because I work full time and my husband works full time, we decided to have our teaching days on my day off, which is Wednesdays, and we use Saturday and Sundays as our teaching days. We also use Fridays after work as a reteaching day, or if my son has additional questions, or I want to give him a refresher, or we want to focus on a project or a topic, I use Fridays after work to do that. That may not work for you. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you may be able to homeschool Monday through Friday and keep your weekends to yourself. Or if your spouse or a relative is available during a certain time of the week, then they will do that during that day and you will pick up on a different day. Or if you are outsourcing any of the lessons or topics, then maybe your child is going to another location for a particular topic on a certain day, and then you're going to homeschool once or twice a week. So consider everybody's schedule. Consider what works best for the entire household, not just you, but the child as well. Is your child a morning person? Are you a morning person? Does it make more sense to teach in the morning and then take a break and then in the afternoon? Or does it make more sense to do everything in the afternoon? Because you may have little ones that take naps late morning. Or does it make sense to homeschool certain subjects or do your whole homeschooling process in the evening for a few hours? It's totally up to you, but write down all the different options and don't be afraid as you go through your homeschooling journey to try those various options out in effort to determine which one works best for you and the child and your household. We don't want to create a lot of interruptions within the flow of our household, but we also want to make homeschooling a part of our everyday life. It shouldn't be a chore. And it shouldn't bring chaos or confusion. It should flow right into the rigmarole of your life. And I do have a video about the difference between a schedule and routine. And based on your child's age, based on how they learn or comprehend information, maybe they are more alert in the morning and you have to get that math or you have to get that reading done at the most productive time of the day. Or maybe you work best by having a schedule. However that works out for you and your household, make that decision. Are we going to have subjects at certain times of the day, or are we going to have a handful of subjects and they'll flow the way they flow throughout the day based on what happens? So take a moment, think about that. And again, it's not a race. If it takes you a few days to compile that information, do that. Talk to the child, talk to the spouse or relative or anyone who is helping you down this homeschool journey. So that's baby step number 2. Baby step number 3, what are you teaching? What are you teaching? What are the subjects and topics that you are going to teach? Remember in baby step 1, I said it's really important to know and understand your why. Why are you homeschooling? What is the vision? What are the goals you want to accomplish? What is the intent? What is the purpose? Why are you homeschooling? That's important to know because it ties right back into what are you going to teach? I highly recommend, outside of math, reading, and writing, I personally believe that those 3 things should automatically be intertwined and incorporated within your homeschool journey, whether or not you are a traditional homeschooler or you are on the opposite spectrum and you are an what's it called? Unschooler. Regardless of where you fall in that spectrum, I believe that reading, writing, and math should fall within your journey, however you decide to do it. But all those other topics, your science, African history, American history, world history, geography, literature analysis, poetry, picture study, enrichment, religious studies, Bible study, whatever those other topics or subjects are, how do they fall in line with your why? The why you're homeschooling, your vision, your goals, your purpose for doing this. What I do, I literally sit down and I say, okay, if I want to teach African studies, why am I teaching African studies? What's the purpose? What do I want my son to learn? How does that fit into the values that I wrote down in my foundational document that explains my why? How does it meet the overall objectives that I want to accomplish within my homeschool? How does it meet our purpose? What do I expect him to gain from going through the journey of learning about his legacy and his history, both the good, bad, and ugly? So I literally ask myself those types of questions for every single topic, from geography to science and so forth. If I'm able to answer those questions, and it may take some thought, it may take some time, but if I'm able to answer those questions, then I go ahead and bring it within our homeschooling process as a subject. Okay. I even go further. As I dive into what I want to teach within that subject, so let's stick with African American studies. Once I decide that's a subject I want to bring into our homeschool, then I decide what about African American history do I want to instruct on? What about African American history do I want him to understand and have a good grasp of? And then I go through and ask myself those same questions. Another example, American history. Once I decide, yes, I want U.S. history to be incorporated in our homeschool, I'll ask what subjects or what topics, So let's talk about the topic of learning all the presidents of the United States and the vice presidents as an example. I ask myself, by my child knowing all the presidents of the United States, how does that benefit my child? How does that match or align to our overall purpose for homeschooling, the values we want to bring in, the result-oriented goals that I want to accomplish? How does that align to it? If it doesn't align to it, I'm not teaching it. It doesn't mean that my child will not learn it. It just simply means it won't be a topic that I will focus on. So let's keep with that example of the presidents. Instead of focusing on it as a topic that we teach and we do exercises and activities on, I may say, what we'll do is we'll learn the presidents of the United States as we weave through African American studies, as we learn about African American history within the United States. We'll do a timeline of events. And as we learn those events, we'll learn the presidents of the United States within that lesson or within those lessons. So he'll learn who the presidents are and their impact during our timeline of events for African American studies, but I won't teach it in such a way where I'm having him memorize the names and memorize who they are, memorize different things about them. Certain presidents, he will absolutely learn a lot more detail about based on what that president did within the did or did not do within the African American journey within the United States. So I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to explain here. The whole intent here is to help you understand that you don't have to teach every subject or every topic that the school teaches or another homeschooling parent teaches. Based on your why for homeschooling, you decide what subjects and what topics are important for you to teach and for your children or child to learn. And remember what we talked about in baby step 2, when we talked about when you want to teach or instruct, right? The when. That also ties into step number 3, because you don't have to teach every topic every semester, every quarter, or even every year. For our homeschool, I'm going to keep with my 2 examples of U.S. history and African American studies. We do African American studies year round. That's a topic that we're going to touch on throughout the homeschooling year. But for United States history, we're only focusing on that for 1 semester. For our homeschool, 1 semester is considered 2 quarters. So 6 months out of the year, we're focusing on U.S. history. And for the entire year, we're focusing on African American studies. And just as a side note, we are year-round homeschoolers. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful and I hope it was beneficial to you. What I'm going to do is I'll do a separate video on the next few steps. And I'm doing this because I want you guys to really take your time and think about this information and jot it down. Don't rush through it. Baby steps 1, 2, and 3 are really important. In my opinion, they're the foundational milestones or the foundational stones to having a very successful homeschooling journey. So take a moment, think about those things, write them down, organize them in a way that's easy to understand and read, and then pick back up on part 2 of this video where we will dive into the next few steps. Thank you for watching, and as always, guys, be blessed and make it a fantastic and great day. Bye-bye.